They are indeed. Let's run you through the action, and we will start with the team that Jake highlighted, Purdue going to Minnesota. The Gophers without Mo Ibrahim. He was dressed, but he did not play, was not medically cleared in warm-ups due to a leg injury. Aiden O'Connell, remember, missed last week. He was back this week. Late in the first half, Tanner Morgan goes right through the hands of Michael Brown-Stevens. Cam Allen there to pick it off. The Gopher fans assumed the position. Purdue would lead at 10-3 at the half, fourth quarter. O'Connell, Charlie Jones. O'Connell threw for $1.99. That would lead to a go-ahead field goal. Boilers up 13-10, and then it is Devin Mockabee, the freshman walk-on, running his way through that Gophers secondary, sets up a first and goal, 68 yards on the play. They give it back to Mockabee on the very next play, and he takes it in. Went over 100 rushing yards for the first time ever. And the Gophers fans head to the exits in disappointment. 20-10, Purdue wins it. First win at Minnesota since 2007. Here's Brooke Fletcher.
Coach, congratulations. You guys were aggressive right out of the gate. Defense getting a big stop, and then you guys scoring on that opening drive. How did that set the tone for the rest of the game here?
Well, it was a complete total effort. Yes, we got off to a good start, which is important against this team because you got to take them out of their game to a certain degree. Our defense made timely turnovers when they were driving. They played hard, and in the end, we found a way to close it on offense. But, our guys just battle hard. They're a great group of guys. I understand every week's a new week, but this is a tremendous opportunity, and our guys rose to the occasion.
Aiden, this team has faced a lot of adversity so far this season, but here you guys are on the road getting a win against a ranked team. What does this say about your team and what you guys are capable of?
Yeah, like you said, it's been a tough couple of weeks. We won last week, but it was a hard-fought game, and then two tough losses at the end. I think, hopefully we're just learning how to win at the end of the games, and I'm so proud of our guys. I didn't play very well, and guys picked me up. Defense played awesome. Our running game played awesome. Coach did a great job, so just super happy for our program.
Your quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, he was a game-time decision, but, he helped you guys get the win. What did he show you here today?
I mean, that's just who he is. He was upset he couldn't be with us last week. He did everything he could in the training room and on the practice field. He's just a competitor and a hard worker, and that's just what he does.
We're always going to keep our players safe, and I listen to our medical people. I listen to our doctors, and they've got Mo's best interest when they're looking out for him, period. Not just winning a football game. I sit down and write the notes as the game goes on, and you're making adjustments. We didn't deserve to win the football game. The externals sit there and go, well, they haven't been tested. They haven't been tested. They haven't had any adversity. Well, there it is, right? Here it is. And, this team's trained to respond to that adversity, and I know they'll do that for sure.
Minnesota seeing its 7-game win streak come to an end. Let's focus on Purdue first, guys. I mean, this is a Purdue team that, as of last year, had lost 27 straight road games against ranked teams. Remember, they beat Iowa, and now they get this win over Minnesota. So they have now won 2 of their last 3 after losing 27 in a row. How did they get this one, Howard?
Well, I think one of the things that happened, they took advantage of their opportunities, and they were able to run the football, and that was a big part of it, 160 yards on the ground, something that they normally don't put up those types of numbers. But they took advantage of some of the passes that were dropped, some of the tip balls, and just made the plays that they needed to make offensively, because this wasn't really one of those typical Purdue offensive outputs.
Right, because when Jeff Brom says you have to take him out of the game, I think he meant this. They beat Minnesota in time of possession. As you mentioned, they rushed for 160 yards. Minnesota rushed for 47 yards, and Minnesota threw for more than Purdue threw. So I think they took him out of the game. I mean, Jeff Brom put together a game plan that allowed them to win in the most unusual fashion that I think Purdue's won maybe their last 10 games.
I had the chance to call the Purdue FAU game, and I talked to Jeff Brom, and he said, hey, we need more balance. They understand they want to be a passing team, but up until that point, they really hadn't established a run game at all. Devin Mockabee, they call him Crazy Legs. He showed up big today. Just being able to run the ball, especially as you get into the changing weather. It's fall, it's Big Ten play. That is so valuable, and it's going to help them pass the ball down the stretch of the season.
It is impressive. I mean, I mentioned that huge losing streak against ranked teams on the road. This is the first time since 1957 and 58 that they have won games against ranked teams on the road in consecutive years. So the Boilers doing things they haven't done in a long time, have to feel good about their positioning in the West race. What about Minnesota? I mean, you heard PJ Fleck's explanation, and certainly I think anyone would respect that. You don't put someone out there if they're injured. It didn't feel like this team would be totally dependent on Mo Ibrahim, but they just look lost offensively without him.
Well, Mo, but also remember they lost their leading receiver in Chris Ottman-Bell just not too long ago. So those are your two biggest weapons you had going into the season, and it certainly looked like they missed it today. I mean, Tanner Morgan just couldn't get anything going, really offensively couldn't get anything going. I would honestly credit their defense. I thought their defense kept them in the game for a majority of the entirety of the game. So I don't know where you go from here. You have some adversity. This is your chance to bounce back because all your goals are still in front of you. The West is still wide open. Yeah,
the first thing I would say about Mo is I don't know any coaches that would play someone that was injured. I mean, that's standard procedure for coaches. I don't think anybody gets any credit for keeping an injured player away from the game. You know, the defense struggled. I think the offense, I think it was more than just missing Mo. I don't think they were on their game. I don't think Mo makes that much of a difference where you could take a really efficient offense and be that inept on a certain night. I think it was more than Mo. I don't think that offense was ready to play.
One of the things we've seen with this offense is when they are not in sync, they don't play very well. They're just not able to kind of get over the hump. And you look at their inability to run the football was a problem. You look at the interceptions. Yes, you saw one that went off one of the receiver's hands, but you can't win a game with 3 interceptions. That's just not going to work out that way. So they didn't, as Coach Fleck said, didn't deserve to win the game. And you can look at certain areas and certain things that normally they really excel at, did not happen in this game. And you have to give Purdue a lot of credit, particularly on the defensive side, for putting them in a tough situation.
Those 3 picks for Tanner Morgan, a career high, had 1 all year coming in. And Jerry, you mentioned the rushing total, 47 rushing yards for a team that was averaging 295 coming in. Let's go over to the East. Ohio State, the 3rd-ranked team in the country, hosting Rutgers. Couple old friends, Ryan Day and Greg Schiano, exchanging pleasantries. Travion Henderson.
Sometimes they have arguments.
Banged up during warm-ups, so he would not play. Mayan Williams started in his place, and I would say Mayan made a bit of an impact. Punches it in from 2 yards out. Buckeyes tied this one at 7-all after they had turned it over early, and Rutgers had taken advantage. Marvin Harrison going for the pylon there. Did he fumble before he crossed the goal line? Is he down? Is he out? Is it a touchback? He was ruled down at the Rutgers 1, and that sets up Williams again. There would be much more where that came from. Buckeyes on top 14-7. The defense showing up for Ohio State. Evan Simon gets stripped. Mike Hall recovers for the Buckeyes. OSU ball right around midfield, and then it's C.J. Stroud finding Julian Fleming in stride. Nicely done. 27-7, Ohio State on top at the break. To the 3rd quarter we go. In Howard, there goes Mayan.
Really doing a nice job. You got to give that offensive line a lot of credit for getting him to the 2nd level, but then you start to see him pull away. This guy's a guy that runs normally inside, but now he shows he can take it to the house when he has that opportunity.
21 carries, 189 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Ties the school record. First to do it since Keith Byers in 1984. A little drama. He was pretty good. A little drama in the 4th quarter. Jesse Mirko decides to keep it himself with the field wide open. He is hit late out of bounds by Aaron Cruikshank, who was tossed from the game for that. And then Ryan Day and Greg Schiano, they were exchanging pleasantries before the game. They were exchanging something else. They're unpleasantries, I suppose. Penalties on both coaches. Day and Schiano shake hands in the postgame. Buckeyes win at 49-10. Rick Pizzo got the reaction.
Mayan, you tie a program record. You're the first Buckeye running back in nearly 40 years to score 5 touchdowns. How cool is it to be atop a list that includes some of those names?
It's definitely a blessing, man. I give a big shout out to my O-line for making it happen for me. Without them, I wouldn't be able to have as many touchdowns as I did.
You had a great year last year, tons of yards per carry, but you seem faster, you seem more explosive. What do you credit that to?
Just a big shout out to the nutrition. They helped me get my diet together with that, and just working in the off season.
What is this offense like to be a part of? If the pass game isn't clicking, the run game is there, the offensive line has all-American talent. How fun is it to be a part of this group?
It's definitely fun, man. Just going out there, just executing with my brothers, man, just having fun while we do it.
Ryan, obviously cooler heads prevailing there at the post-game handshake. How much of that was just two head coaches having the back of their players?
That's all it was. Nothing but respect for Greg, but when something like that comes up, he was defending his guys, we're defending our guys, and it's part of the game, unfortunately. And that was something that he kind of did on his own, so was what it was, and we talked about it after the game, so all good.
Oh, it's not Ryan Day and I. I think it's two coaches that protect their players. My player was in a sea of Ohio State players, and it was closing fast, and I wanted to make sure of two things. Number one, I wanted to stop our team from coming across the field. That's how things get very ugly. And I wanted to make sure that our player got out of there safely. Both very competitive guys. I got the utmost respect for Ryan. We're good friends. We're good. There's no problem there between us.
So it feels like everyone has put that incident behind them. Ohio State really impressive, Jerry. 27 straight conference home wins now, extending the longest streak in Big Ten history. Dug a little bit of a hole early on with a mistake and then absolutely buried Rutgers.
Yeah, and to me, the most impressive thing is the defense. And the defense has really come on the last couple of days. Only 3 big plays today, a run for 11, 2 passes, 1 for 14 and 1 for 26. I think it completes Ohio State. If you'd asked me who was the best team in the conference 3 weeks ago, and maybe this was because of schedule, I would have said Michigan. I think Ohio State's the best team in the conference right now because the defense is caught up to the offense, and they're a complete team.
Yeah, I think it's important to really pick out the defense and the job that they continue to do because they keep getting better each and every week. On the offensive side, this offensive line is really playing at a high level, and that's really making things easier for the playmakers to be able to get the football.
When defenses play Ohio State, you go into the week saying, all right, we got to take away your strength. What's their strength? It's everything, right? They can beat you on the ground, they can beat you through the air, and they're doing it with, Jackson Smith-Njigba, arguably the best receiver in the country. Travion Henderson was a preseason All-American. They get those guys back, and it's going to be impossible to stop them. You can only hope to slow them down.
Rutgers, meanwhile, still yet to beat a ranked team as a Big Ten member, but I'll tell you what, they have some opportunities coming up here. This is clearly an improved Rutgers team. They've got Nebraska at home coming up on Friday. They get a bye game, then they get Indiana. You got to feel like those next 2 opportunities there are possible for Rutgers to pick up some wins and perhaps gain a little bit of momentum. Illinois and Wisconsin. Brett Bielema making his return to Madison. How about that? Paul Chryst, Barry Alvarez, Brett all getting together. Pick it up in the first quarter. Graham Mertz is picked off by Kendall Smith. Wisconsin was up 7-0 at that point, but Illinois with great field position, and from there, Tommy DeVito able to take it in. His first touchdown run of the year to tie it up at 7. Now it's 10-7 in favor of the Badgers, and Mertz is picked off again. Tavion Nicholson there, 2 picks for Mertz, now 5 on the year, and then it is DeVito again. Illinois up 14-10 at the half. They outrushed Wisconsin 137-2. More from DeVito here, Howard.
Yeah, really nice job of just finding the soft spot. Offensive line really resetting the line of scrimmage.
Third rushing touchdown of the game puts the Illini up by 11, and then Isaac Arendo on the ensuing kickoff fumbles it. The Illini recover. They would get a field goal. And then they salt this one away as Chase Brown went over 100 yards for his school record, 6th straight game. The Illini win in Madison for the first time since 2002, 34-10. Brett Bielema gets the W against his former colleague Paul Chryst, the coach with Crystal Rich.
Coach, the last time you returned to a place that used to be home, you said you didn't feel the emotions until after the game. Well, Coach, you led the Illini to a win in Madison for the first time in 20 years. How does it feel?
Well, it feels great. We talked all week about, obviously, the last 20 years nobody's been able to do this, but at that same time, I just saw my wife and my girls walk up, so it's special on many different reasons.
Oh, look at this precious one right here. Wow.
Mommy.
How was
Hi,
the game?
Beth.
How was... Look at this. This is so precious. Coach, one last question for you. It was such a great showing for your defense once again, this time in Big Ten play. What was your evaluation of your defense?
You know, I think our guys continue to make steps forward. They practice really well. We know we had a tough stretch coming here. We obviously took care of phase one. Now we got to play Iowa at our place, back-to-back with Minnesota. So some Big Ten West stuff, but I feel good for our fans. You know, our players we talk a lot about, but when we got here, we talked about building pride in Illinois, and hopefully we made our people very proud. ILL.
Coach, congratulations on the win. Go enjoy it with your family.
Thank you. ILL.
Yes. There you go.
In every game we play, there's going to be those momentum swings, and I think that's part of what good teams can do, and teams that, if you want to give yourself a chance to win each and every Saturday, you've got to be able to handle those ebbs and flows and those momentum swings. And there aren't many games where the momentum isn't going to shift, and that's where a individual, a group, a unit, whatever that may be, has to kind of seize that moment. Okay, we've got that moment. Here's how we stop the momentum, and certainly didn't do it enough today.
Built for Success, brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. Taking a look at the Fighting Illini. You saw the number just a moment ago, but the largest win against Wisconsin since 1988. That was not a particularly successful period of Badger football. How about 42 points allowed through 5 games for the Fighting Illini? That is the fewest since 1950. And looky here, the Big Ten West is clear as could be. You have 6 teams at 1-1, including Illinois. Wisconsin is the only team in the West that has yet to win a conference game. And I'm just going to say it, Howard, Illinois, there is no reason Illinois cannot win that division. They are a good team. And
really, when you think about it, coming into this game, I thought they needed to make the Badgers one-dimensional. But to hold them to 2 yards rushing, it's phenomenal to be able to do that. And they're really just continuing to play at a high level from a defensive standpoint. Yes, they're making plays offensively, but to me, the difference has been what they've been able to do on the defensive side of the football, and the team is really taking advantage of their opportunities here.
I think they're complete. I think they're complete on offense because they're balanced. They can both run and throw the ball and keep the defense off balance, and they're playing really good defense and good special teams. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They're complementary. They're put together. They play hard. I do think, even though Brett has to answer the question, it's not about me coming back to Wisconsin. The team takes on the emotion for the coach in this situation. So I do think not only were they ready physically, I think the Illinois team was the more emotional team today, and I think that really carries a lot of weight.
I'm really impressed with how Barry Lunney Jr. has this offense operating, and it's kind of builds off itself. It starts with Chase Brown running the ball, and then you build in the RPO, hit Isaiah Williams. Well, if you want to commit as a defense extra secondary elements to stop the run, we'll play action and hit Pat Bryant. Whatever way you spin it, they're going to have a pre-snap advantage, and Barry Lunney Jr. is firing on all cylinders with his play calls. They're probably the most complete team in the conference, or in the West at this point, based on what they put on film today.
Defense is pretty good too. 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Meanwhile, the Badgers just 208 total yards. They head to Northwestern next week. Elsewhere, we were hyping this game up all week. Number 4 Michigan going to Iowa at Kinnick, where top 5 teams go to die, as Jim Harbaugh said memorably. There's Blake Corum facing that Iowa defense. J.J. McCarthy, his first road start. They run a little end around to Ronnie Bell. 16 yards for a touchdown. First career rushing touchdown for him. Michigan on top 7-0. Now on a 3rd and 4. Jack Campbell coming up with the stop there for the Hawks, and Michigan forced to settle for a field goal, so 10-0. Spencer Petras on a 3rd and 12. The Michigan defense coming up big, so a defensive battle. But McCarthy here hitting Andrell Anthony. J.J. played well, Jake.
Yeah, that was his best throw of the day, but wasn't exactly a Heisman-type performance from a stat standpoint, but a clean game, and that's exactly what you want against an opportunistic Iowa defense that knows how to take the ball away.
No picks. I mean, we talked about Iowa, most interceptions in the country over the last 5 years. Didn't get any on this day. Donovan Edwards there puts Michigan on top 20-0. And then Spencer Petras brought down by Mike Morris. The defense looking good for the maize and blue. Petras with the Hawks down 20-0 to Nico Ragaini.
Yeah, very well pronounced.
That's your announcement.
That's a recent change. The Nico's family.
That's why I wanted to make you aware that you were making people aware.
Thank you. Caleb Johnson brings it in. It's 20-7. Petras, though, with the Hawkeyes on the move, gets brought down. The Michigan D, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and then able to salt the game away behind Blake Corum.
Ooh, shakedown in the middle of home.
20 yards for the touchdown. Michigan wins it 27-14. They end a 4-game skid in Iowa City. Jenny Taft caught up with the Maize and Blue.
Really gritty performance. I thought our guys just really strained and played really hard. And these are the guys you should talk to. This guy had one great game, Mike. Congratulations, man.
Tell me about Mike. Why is he so special? Then I'll let you go.
Huge motor. I mean, look at the guy. He's 6'7", 290 pounds, and he's got a big heart right there.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. All right, Mike, I got to talk to you. And that is so true. What a game. 2 sacks for you. This defense, really, you set a tone today. What can you say about your guys out there?
I told them before, I told them at halftime that they're going to throw everything they got at us. The coaches told us the first drive, they're going to throw everything they have, everything out of their bag at us. And we took the punches. They punched us twice actually, but I feel like we stepped up to the plate, and big time players made big time plays, and it was a team effort. Everybody stepped up to the plate. Everybody did their job. DBs covered. We rushed the passer.
These guys right here showed up when they needed to.
JJ, you know these guys so well. You go up against them in practice. What about this group is so impressive?
I mean, it's their nonstop determination every single play. They never stop. They go balls to the wall every single play, and then they just have those God-given abilities that just make them so special. So, yeah, I'm happy to see that they're going against another opponent. I'm not going to lie.
Fair enough. They did their job. You did yours. What can you tell me about this road test for you, JJ, today?
I mean, it was huge. Just from a team standpoint, this is our first road game, and especially coming into Kinnick with just the history of everything, it was just really awesome to get it done. Now we're on to the next week.
His Michigan postgame interviews are something else. Right? Guys popping in and out, making cameos, and there for a while.
It's like a late-night talk show. Roll them through.
Here's who's coming up next on the Michigan postgame interview. This is really impressive to go into Kinnick and really have the game in hand the entire way. We talked about it all week, top 5 teams and the history of upsets there. Michigan was really good.
The biggest challenge was understanding Iowa has such a strong front 7. They're so stout against the run. Michigan brought back Trevor Keegan at left guard. I thought him, Olu Oluwatimi, and Zach Zinner, they did a great job in 3rd and short, 4th and short situations, displacing the line of scrimmage, and then you see what Blake Corum was able to do. Another 100-yard game. He's playing great ball, but it starts with the offensive line.
When you watch JJ on tape, you see how talented he is, and you see how young he is because he makes young mistakes. Today was a tremendous growth for him, and he's pretty good in front of the camera, as we just saw. So as we watch him develop during the year, at some point we're not going to say he makes young mistakes. And today, to get through the Iowa game because of all the problems that their defense gives you, I think it was a great game for JJ.
I think one of the plays that stood out is when JJ threw to Donovan Edwards. Let's be very clear. That was a broken play. There was a scramble drill that they were on. And for both of those guys to be able to connect in that situation was big. Under duress, the receiver Edwards finds himself open in the back of the end zone. JJ continuing to keep those eyes down the field, finds him, goes in for a touchdown. So those are the type of plays he has to continue to build on for this team to continue on that stretch that they're on, because I think this is a special team.
And that's why he won the job, for exactly what you just described. He can do those things. Not a lot of people can.
14th straight win against unranked teams for Michigan. They get another unranked team next week. They go to Indiana, and then a big showdown with Penn State as we get a couple teams competing at the top of the East going head-to-head. The 11th ranked Penn State hosting Northwestern on a rainy day in Happy Valley. That's not bad? Nah, it's nothing. It's not good. Just a light drizzle. Ryan Helinski overthrowing his receiver. Jair Brown picking it off. Brings it back into Northwestern territory, and that sets up the Nittany Lions. Sean Clifford to Brenton Strange, who's really come on this year. The touchdown grab there, and the Nittany Lions on top 7-0. Turnovers aplenty in this game. Here's Helinski fumbling the snap. McTarburton falls on it for the Nittany Lions. 3 turnovers for Northwestern, and that led to Nick Singleton powering his way in. Penn State, 220 rushing yards. 6th straight road game. Northwestern has given up 200 or more on the ground. It's 14-0. And then it is Singleton. He has it pop loose. His second fumble of the game. Penn State had 5 turnovers in this game. James Franklin not pleased, but the Cats gave it right back. Helinski fumbles it. Penn State falls on it. 8 combined turnovers between the two teams. Later in the third, it's Helinski to Jacob Gill, the lone bright spot for the Wildcats, makes it 14-7. Now down 10. They got it down 4th and goal from the 1, but Penn State's defense coming up with the stop, and the Nittany Lions coming up with the win.
Coach Franklin, the conditions weren't always ideal, but 5-0 sure is. How do you summarize this one?
Yeah, I thought our defense played unbelievably well, as good as I've seen. And offensively, we've been one of the best turnover ratio teams in the country all year, but under these conditions, we obviously didn't do a good job. So that'll be a big part of what we work on during the bye week. But we are undefeated. We're 1-0 today. We got a tough stretch coming up with Michigan, so we got to take advantage of this bye.
This defense came up in really critical moments today. Where has this extra effort and gelling come from in those critical moments?
Yeah, I think it's something we preach every single day. Relentless effort, running to the ball, your man on key, from everything, from the snap to the whistle, just relentless effort.
5-0, how do you keep climbing from here defensively?
Just each and every day, coming to work hard, with a chip on our shoulder, and attacking each week just with that 1-0 mentality.
And Amir's getting the post-game reaction there. It was not pretty, really, for Penn State, guys. 5 turnovers. So the first Big Ten team in a dozen years to win a conference game with 5 turnovers. But a win's a win, and the defense certainly came up big.
I almost don't even want to talk about it because you're going into a bye, all right? So just shake this one off. Go into your bye, get healthy, and then you have a 3-game stretch that will define your season. Absolutely. Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State. If you play to your potential, all those are winning games, but certainly you have to play better than you did today.
Right, but you go into your bye knowing you got a really good defense, and Manny Diaz is the perfect guy to run your defense. To win a game with your offensive turning over 5 times, and that's tough to do. Northwestern rushed for 31 yards. They certainly don't throw the ball well enough to beat you if you hold them to 31 yards. But again, Manny Diaz, tremendous job with the defense.
P.J. Mustipher doing a really good job inside. 8 tackles today was really significant. When your defensive tackles can have that type of impact on a game, that's huge for them. But they have to be able to clean up these turnovers. They can't go into that stretch that you just mentioned thinking that they can turn the football over and come out with wins. They know that. They can't play like that.
Wildcats had every opportunity in this game, but offense really stumbled, and now Northwestern losing for the 10th time in its last 11 games. Michigan State and Maryland, opening drive of the game. Maryland in the red zone. Give it to Antoine Littleton because he scores touchdowns. 6th straight game with a TD. That ties for the longest streak for Maryland this century. Went 12 plays, 93 yards on the first possession. How about Elijah Collins?
Where is he been?
Emerged for Michigan State.
It's been around.
Ties it up at 7. Jerry's been keeping close tabs. Colby McDonald with the 2-yard run, and the Terps on top 14-7. Peyton Thorne looking for the end zone. Jaden Reed, who's been banged up on and off this year. They missed the extra point, though, so Spartans down by 1. Leah Tungabailoa hitting Rakim Jarrett. Leah, 314 passing yards, his 10th career 300-yard passing game, tying Scott Milanovich's school record. Peyton Thorne gets sacked here. Michigan State just 75 yards in the second half as Maryland wins at 27-13. Jillian Sakovich was there.
Coach,
Coach, you get your first win over Michigan State since 2016. How satisfied are you with the Terps' performance today?
You know, I like the way we responded. Obviously, coming off of a tough loss a week ago, it's always going to be interesting to see how your team will respond. I thought we had a really good week of practice. We always talk about just win Monday through Friday. Wasn't pretty, but we found a way to get the job done.
Another game with 300-plus yards for Taulia Tagovailoa. I know you've wanted him to think like a coach when he's out there. Has he shown you that?
He has. You know, he's coming off of a tough week. You know, a lot of people don't understand how close he and Tua is, and to get his mind into the mindset today after seeing his brother and knowing how it affected him, I was glad to see him compartmentalize for 4 hours, get his mind on what he needed to get done to help us win the day. Really proud of his effort.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're all brothers, you know, with the O-line. They're the biggest group. They lead us, and they're the reason why we're winning and stuff. And the receivers and tight ends and running backs, everyone's just happy to play together, and we play for each other. So we don't care who gets the touchdown or reception. As long as we all do our job and we're winning, that's all that matters.
And finally, I have to ask you, your coach just gave you a ton of credit. Obviously, a very tough week for the Tagovailoa family after the injury to your brother, Tua. How heavy was the heart you were playing with today?
I mean, yeah, my brother's, that's my heart, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm just happy he's good, but I'm about to go to Florida right now. So I'm about to go see my brother and stuff. So
we're all thinking about him. Thanks, Taulia.
Thank you.
Certainly echo that sentiment. 7 straight games now for the Terps scoring 27 or more points. That ties for their longest streak ever with the 84 ACC champs that included the Frank Reich comeback game against Miami. Yeah. This team is starting to be one of those teams, a historical type team for Maryland with the way they score.
I think Coach Loxley said it best. We want to see how we respond after the loss last week. They came back and really played at a high level today, and that's what you want to be able to see. But you talk about this offense, they can go out and score with anyone. And that's going to keep them in games.
Defense shuts them out in the second half. Really big. This defense has improved as much as any unit in the conference, and they have 3 matchup opponents coming up: Purdue, Indiana, and Northwestern, and they're 4-0. Like I said this morning, at Alabama, where Knox was, it's about the process. At Maryland, it's about the schedule.
There you go. Defense, I wouldn't call them elite, but I would say this is the best defense they've had in years. And I would go out and say I would put their weapons on offense up with anybody's in the entire conference.
Maryland now 4-1. Michigan State, meanwhile, 2-3. 4th straight road loss for them. That ties for their longest streak this century. And you see Leah moving up on the all-time list at Maryland, passes Boomer Esiason on the career passing yard list on Saturday. Scott Milanovic in his sights. Would not surprise me if he passes him by the time we get to November. Indiana and Nebraska, the prime time game, and late in the first quarter, Casey Thompson, Mark Whipple had exchanged some words on the sidelines. Thompson gets pulled out of the game. Chubba Purdy comes in, and it wasn't Purdy. He fumbles the football, and Miles Jackson recovers for Indiana, and we're tied at 7. Later in the second, still tied.
The dreaded double thump.
Yes, Howard, it was. Malcolm Hartzog picks it up and takes it in, and the Huskers back on top at 14-7. Later in the second, it's 21-7. Connor Bazelak to Emery Simmons. Indiana was without Cam Camper and DJ Matthews, their 2 top receivers, but Sean Shivers taking it in there, and we would go to the half tied at 21. To the fourth quarter, still tied. Casey Thompson hitting Trey Palmer in stride, Jake.
Yeah, Trey Palmer, career day, 8 catches, 157 yards. He did some special things in punt return, but he was their standout downfield target.
Huskers on top 28-21, and then Thompson takes it himself as Nebraska ends a 9-game losing streak against FBS teams. Get the first win for Mickey Joseph, who talked with Megan McEwen.
Coach, you said you wanted explosive plays. You got multiple explosive drives in that fourth quarter. What was the turning point for your offense?
Well, we had to start playing smart. And we knew we had to hit some big plays. So we knew we had to go to Trey to get a big play. Casey made a great throw. We had great protection. It was a well-executed play.
You mentioned wide receiver Trey Palmer. I know you have a special relationship with him. He followed you from LSU to here. Why has he been so impactful in your offensive system?
He matured when he got up here. He grew up when he came up here. So that's the big thing, that he matured. He trusts me, I trust him, and he's going to get better every week.
Well, you've gotten better every week. You just picked up your first win as the Nebraska head coach, as an interim head coach. Why is it special with this crew to get it done tonight?
It's for the kids and the coaches. They've been working so hard. It was in a tough situation. We had an off week, a reset. We said, okay, nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Let's go out and try to win the game. We have to be the most physical team.
Oh, this win was about the defense. I mean, they gave up 71 yards in the second half, Jerry, 5 yards in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was because of the defense. It was because Mickey Joseph made a change in the defensive leadership. And as he told us, he simplified it. He didn't think that they were playing fast enough under the old system under Eric Shenander, who had a lot of success at Nebraska. But this seemed to be the right change at the right time.
Anthony Grant, 32 carries, 136 yards, but no play bigger than on that scramble at the end by Thompson. He pancakes the linebacker playing without the ball. Love it.
You talk about a team that desperately needed a win and just found a way to get it done in front of a sold-out crowd today. How about those post-game images where they're chanting, Mickey in the locker room, baby? We celebrate all wins.
Some really good stuff. Their first win over an FBS opponent in 364 days.